So I think Hydroplex's core values really are the lifeblood, the kind of the DNA behind how we all see the company together. Right? When we initially set out to found and put in place the core values as a foundation, what was really cool about the process and unique, I think, is that every employee owner was engaged as far as perception and discussion and an understanding of what it takes to run a business. We can look at numbers all day long, we can study P&Ls, but at the end of the day, as a group of people, we have to know what we stand for and why we go to business every single day.
Well, we have 5 core values, and it's my assessment that Hydroplex follows these core values to the T, starting with safety, which we always say safety first in all situations. But when it comes to customer service, integrity, teamwork, and quality, Hydroplex excels in meeting and living with our core values that we've established with the company. These core values were established with the employees' involvement, so they were not dropped on them by an outside consultant or by other people, so they participated in deciding what our core values are, and they follow them well.
They mean a lot to me because Matt instills in us, before we worry about getting the work done, to get the work right. It doesn't matter how much longer it requires us to do it, as long as it leaves with the quality that is expected of Hydroplex and the quality we expect to give to the customer.
The biggest difference here, and somewhat in both of our groups, both in the pump group and specifically in the throttle valve group, is that we built this business from the ground up. So with the pump group, it was a business that was very young, that ran into an economic nightmare, had to shutter. So we resurrected that business nearly from the ground up. With regard to the valve business, it was a complete ground up production, and that's exciting in this business.
I would say their core value is doing it right the first time. I know it's not part of our core values, but it's a sense and feeling that you get when you're working with these people that they want to get it right every time, which means a lot in the service industry. When you're in the service industry and you're producing equipment that other people are going to use and rely on, it's got to be right each time. There's no shortcuts being taken. People go to the nth degree to make sure that what they're getting is what they're looking for.
Yeah, so the George men, Albert and David, and I guess if I can even dare to put myself in, not the ranks, but even in the same sentence as those 2 men, as it pertains to AGI Industries. Gosh, where do I even start? My grandfather started the company, I think, in 1968. And he got into the oil industry by accident. He was a good football player in high school, and he was cleaning his driveway one day as a teenager, and this guy walked right up to him and said, "You Al?" He said, "Yes, sir." He said, "I'm from LSU, Louisiana State University." He said, "How would you like to come to college and play football?" And my grandpa said, "Well, that'd be great, but we can't afford college." And he said, "No, if you play football for us, you can go to college for free." And right there on the spot, had the sign-up sheet for which major my grandfather wanted to sign up for at LSU. And he selected engineer because he thought he was going to be able to drive a train. This is a long time ago, obviously, when most people were not going to college. And so all he really cared about was I get to play football some more, and I learn how to drive a train, operate a train. And I guess the right word is conduct a train. And so he played football there. He played center and snapped the ball to Y.E. Tittle, the very famous Hall of Fame quarterback. And what he actually earned was an engineering degree in petroleum engineering, and he went to work for Humble Oil And he lived on site in the Humble oil camps. And then one day he decided, I'm going to start my own business. And he started a hydraulic hose repair shop.
So David George to me was, when I first came on here, was like a big brother. He actually grew up not far from my home, and I knew of him, but he was about 9 years older than me, so I knew his brothers more than I knew him. When I went to work, I kind of connected those dots and I realized, oh, that's David George from the neighborhood. And he was a sort of a new entrepreneur. He had been working in the business with his dad, but he had taken on the ownership role. He bought the company from his father, and then he also bought Hydroplex at the same time. So my job as a new graduate was to learn everything I could about who are their customers, why do they buy from us, who are not the customers, why don't they buy from us, what can we do to earn that business. So I followed David around like a puppy for many months, asked 1,000 questions a week, and he was gracious enough to answer them with patience and with accuracy. And so a lot of the principles that you must learn in the early days are provided from mentors, and David was one of my mentors in the fact that he was not only a wise businessman, he was a good Christian man, he was also really well versed from his father in the physics involved in the equipment that we build and what makes it last and what makes it break. And that was some very, very valuable things other than the integrity that he carried with him. And just about every decision that he made was integrity first.
You fast forward to today, 2025, this company from 1968 to today is now employee owned and does well over $100 million a year and consists of many different subsidiaries. And that's the legacy of my grandfather and my father. My grandfather sold the business to my dad, David, and my dad really took it to a whole nother level. But I say he did. He did it through building people up and developing people and always being there for them. I could tell you story after story of employees who ran into issues. I mean things such as needing organ transplants and not being able to work, and my dad helping those families through years of income issues. And he just built a culture of we take care of each other and we develop each other. None of us are perfect, but we're all going to work as hard as we can for each other. And his big thing, my dad's big thing, was he just felt really blessed to be surrounded by good people who seemed that he could trust and seemed to have a desire to take care of him. And so he wanted to take care of them, and that's why he went and started the employee stock option plan, or employee stock ownership plan. Because his big thing was, he always said, I want the people who have made me successful to have their piece of the American dream. Because there's no way that I would have my piece of the American dream if it wasn't for them. And he just said that like every single day. And it's amazing to see where this company is at. I mean, my dad didn't even finish college. And here, he is with before his death, top 15 largest company in the state of Louisiana.
David George was a friend, a leader, and a mentor. I worked very closely with David for my entire career with David. He did a great job of letting people make decisions. It was his belief that the company would prosper if authority was passed down the organization, and he did that well. Ultimately, putting the company in employee-owned mode furthered that perspective of letting people make decisions instead of one person making all the decisions. David did a great job with that. He was a very great leader, very, very moral, very ethical person. And again, his legacy continues to influence the performance of his company.
I remember as a kid, we were really, really poor. I remember when I forget what newspaper it was, but they published the top companies in Louisiana. size-wise. And I remember he brought it home and he was so proud. That year it was like number 9 maybe, and it was the highest that the company had ever been. And we were all happy, and I looked at my dad and I said, "Does this mean I can get my pair of Air Jordans now?" And he said, "Nope." My mom was, "Does this mean we can get a second car?" Nope. He just put all of our resources, family resources, into the business. Just continued to reinvest, never ever took opportunity from the business for his own gain. And it was, I would say, a little bit unfortunate for him that at the time the company was finally at a place where all of that sacrifice, all of the hard work was finally at a place where he was going to be able to enjoy the spoils, his share of the spoils. He passed away unexpectedly. A total surprise. And that's at that moment where I kind of was, I would say, forced but not reluctantly into a role at AGI, being on the board of directors for a number of reasons. I've really enjoyed my time on the board, and I've known the old timers at AGI since I was a kid. They've known me since I was a kid. They watched me grow up. They had influence in my life, vacations with them and their families. So I've known so many of these guys and gals for my entire life. I remember working outside digging ditches when I was a kid, and I was thirsty, and I just walk into their office and sit down with my ice cold water, taking a break from the Louisiana heat, and they just talked to me like I was their own son. And you fast forward to today, I'm 45 years old, and here we are working together. It's mind-boggling, it's providential, it's God ordained. It's really just amazing.
David George had the vision of turning this into an employee-owned company. It was his idea, and Pat Zabolics and Dan Terrios and those guys to make it happen. But he had the vision to turn AGI Industries into an ESOP corporation.
So I'll tell you a little story. David's probably the most competitive individual I've ever met in my life, but he's extremely fair and not emotional, right? So David was a guy who could take a situation that was very tense, calmly reason his way through it and make a decision, and then follow up on that decision, right, and stick with it. I always respected that about him. From day one, he allowed me to be what I could be at this company, right? And I always appreciated that. I always knew that I had a path forward with AGI Industries and Hydroplex, and could do some really good things in a career here, right? So I have to thank David for that.
David has made a profound impact on my legacy here. Again, I knew he was a guy that cared and personally cared about things. He might not have been there every day, but he had his ears open as to what was going on. And when he thought he needed to get involved, he got involved. He wasn't scared. He didn't wait. He pushed him. He put himself out there to be part of the group. What can I do to help you? What can I do to make you better? Can I give you some advice that's gotten me through hard times? Because again, when you're in some of these responsible positions, there's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of, and again, David was never one to put pressure on. He was always one to want to work with you and grow you and help you grow, versus, sitting there and demanding it. He was a guy that, I'll show you, don't just listen, we're going to do it together.
Well, David, I can laugh a little bit. David was a bit of a practical joker, but in the end, people respected David because he was there to support them, to stand by them, to motivate them, and do whatever it takes to help them. On the other side of it, You know, I've been on a lot of trips with David. We've done a lot of great things together. I could tell stories that we don't have enough time for today, but it was a great experience to work with David, and he was that guy. And I thank David for what he did for me, our company, our employees, and my family.
Yeah. So David, I had the pleasure to know David, albeit I don't think I have near as much experience as some of the other guys who have been here a very long time. What stood out most to me about David in my time spent with him was how the man lived out his faith, what he truly stood for. He was a phenomenal businessman, but far more than that, he was a phenomenal man. And he had a great impact. Oftentimes I will spend time with another employee owner who has long tenure here, and they have many stories to share. And I don't know, I've never heard one bad story about David George, and I don't know if I can say that about anybody else who I've crossed paths with in this life. David was a man who fiercely loved God. He loved this company as well, and I think that was God was a big part of this company and is a big part of it. And that's the legacy that I see that he left behind that ultimately matters most.